Hi, almost everyone is watching my channel without a subscription. Please support me and subscribe. I release videos every day for you. Story 1. I'm 37, unexpectedly pregnant. My husband, 35, wants an abortion and to keep it quiet. I'm not comfortable with this. What should I do? So here's the full story. Please be honest, yet gentle. I'm extremely emotional right now and am on the verge of panic episodes. Background. We're a childless couple, married for 8 years. We both did not want children when we met and got married. We're both pro-choice. I was always clear that I didn't imagine abortion being right for me if I accidentally got pregnant. I respect and really support that each person should have the right to make their own decision in this matter. Over past 2 or so years, I felt differently and have openly shared my feelings of wanting a child in the future. We discussed it at length. Given the fact that we married based on both not wanting kids, we decided that I will have to be happy without them, or exit the marriage. And I have continued in our marriage missing kids, but with the promise of getting a small dog to fill the void. My husband agreed it would be nice to get a small dog to fill that need, but has since been resistant and changed his mind. We do not have a small dog. I had the IUD implanted for birth control a few years ago, 99.9% effective. It worked like a charm for about 8 years. 2 days ago, Sunday, I noticed that the IUD had mostly slipped out of my cervix and it came all the way out. We bought an over-the-counter pregnancy test and it came back positive. I made an appointment with an OB/GYN for Monday, yesterday, and it's confirmed. I have a viable, non-ectopic pregnancy and I'm 5 weeks and 2 to 3 days along. I actually think conception occurred on / after 8 seconds, according to my ovulation schedule and intercourse. I had an ultrasound as well as multiple blood tests, and everything is coming back looking fine and healthy. To add to the concern, I was off for all of August and drank alcohol almost every day. The OB/GYN let me know that there is an all-or-nothing mechanism, and that if there were complications from alcohol drinking, that I would have had a miscarriage already. He thinks that it's absolutely fine and that it should not factor into whether we proceed with the pregnancy. He really emphasized this point multiple times. Now I'm having a terrible time and would really appreciate your advice and insight. My husband wants to keep this all a secret and abort immediately. I'm not comfortable with that. When we spoke about our feelings, I can understand his desire to abort and not have children. He, however, does not understand mine. Instead of listening to my feelings, he's constantly trying to convince and pressure me to abort. I feel so alone and scared. He's insisting that I not tell anyone, especially not my mom or any friends for that matter. I'm very close with my parents and really just want to motherly or friend advice right now. I've recently moved in my closest distance. Friends are about 1.5 hours away. I just feel so lonely and pressured right now. My husband shared that he feels resentment toward me. He says that I can just fix this problem by having an abortion and that he has bad feelings toward me about this. When I tell him that this is not something I'm comfortable with, he just tries to convince me that I should do it instead of listening. Our communication is breaking down. This is all new, so I'm sure part of it is just shock and accepting the idea. We did not speak to each other last night for the most part, and I spent time in the bedroom while he spent time playing video games and outside in the yard. I think we needed that time to think and recover. I'm sure we both need more time for that. Each morning before leaving bed to get ready for work, he gets up before me. He gives me a kiss in bed. That didn't happen this morning. When he forgot something and came back to the bedroom to grab it, I asked about the missing kiss, and he reluctantly gave me one. It was forced and not nice. I'd hate for our lives to be torn apart. I love him and really enjoy his companionship. I don't think that he'd stay in a marriage with a child, even though before we got married we clearly discussed divorce, went to couples therapy to develop good communication base, and decided that we would not divorce unless it was absolutely vital, abuse, cheating that can't be resolved. He mentioned that he felt I was choosing to have a baby over our marriage. Is this unfair? I can see how he can say that and it makes sense. In the same breath, I also made it clear that if I were to accidentally get pregnant, I would not consider abortion. This isn't a surprise either. He's constantly bringing up the drinking and saying that the kid will have issues. He's not willing to hear that it's going to be fine since the alcohol consumption was early in the pregnancy. Am I kidding myself believing the doctor? I need advice. Should I listen to his wishes and continue to keep this a secret? What should I do about this pregnancy? I just think I may have trouble living with myself if I went through with an abortion. Am I being unreasonable? Is he being unreasonable? I appreciate your advice. Note, Unfortunately, my insurance does not cover couples/relationship therapy. I have made an appointment to speak with a new therapist for tomorrow after work. I'm going to suggest you do the same. Adet, I'm blown away by your generous advice, kind words, and honesty. This truly is a wonderful community, and I appreciate each and every response. I'll continue to read any responses that come in and will provide you with an update once something concrete comes to fruition. Thank you. Update. I wanted to give you kind people an update that is well overdue. First though, I'd like to take a moment to thank you, most of you, for your support and kind words. For the most part, the community came through with useful advice. I really needed help and felt extremely lonely during my original post. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And now onto the update. I'm 39 now and my husband is 37. I was able to see a therapist a day or two after my original post and had a good cry while hashing out the whole story. I told the therapist about the advice I got here. She hadn't heard of Reddit, and she agreed as well. I went through with the pregnancy. My husband had the option, obviously, to stay or leave. He decided to stay. Not only did he decide to stay, but he's the happiest he's ever been in his life. Reminder, we were a childless couple and did not plan on ever having kids. Our daughter has brought so much love into our hearts that we are both amazed. I see the world in a different way now that I have her. He loves our daughter with every bit of himself. Amazingly, my love has grown for this man. He has told me that she has opened up parts of his heart that he never knew was there. I understand what he means. The happiness that I feel is beyond words. Both my husband and I are so thankful that we had our daughter. We talk about it every month or so and can't believe how much we would have missed out if we didn't have her. To top it all off, we have decided to have another baby. Oh, thank you, Reddit. Your support helped me through a difficult time. I hope that those of you that took the time to comment on the original post see this update. EGIT. Holy smoly, Reddit. Pinned and gilded for the first time. Thank you for the gold, kind stranger. Thank you to all of the wonderful positive messages. I have read and appreciate every one of them. I'm glad that sharing my story brought a smile to so many faces, or tears of joy in some cases. Story 2. Today I found out my 19 boyfriend has been cheating on me 18 with his mother for our entire relationship. My buff and I have been together for almost a year now. We met at my mall food court job and immediately hit it off. After a month of knowing each other, he asked me to be his gaff. Of course I said yes. Our relationship has been pretty great up to his point. He takes me on dates, compliments me, and just makes me feel super special. The only weird thing is he would never let me meet his mom. His parents are divorced and have been for almost his entire life. The divorce was messy and his father ended up getting full custody. They had the typical every other weekend and 6 weeks out of the summer set up. I've met his dad and his paternal family, but he would be weird when I brought his mom up. He would tell me things like, "We have a complicated relationship," or "I'll tell you about it later on." About 3 months into the relationship, I began to realize he would never answer his mother's calls or texts around me. He would hastily clear it out or step into another room to talk to her, even if it was just texting. I tried to not let it bother me because I wanted to respect his boundaries. Last week, he spent the night with me for the first time. I woke up around 3 a.m. because of a bad dream and I couldn't go back to sleep. I rolled over to grab my phone in the dark, but accidentally picked his up instead. I looked at the messages from his mother. I opened his phone and began to read through them, and noticed they were mostly very sexual. There would be nudes exchanged, hardcore sexting, and messages for them to meet up for sex. I read the conversations in disbelief. I tried to pretend like it wasn't real, and I dreamed it. A few days later, I confronted us about it. It didn't take long before he broke down and told me everything. He had been having sex with his mother since he was 13 years old. They usually have intercourse once a week, sometimes more. They've been doing this throughout our entire relationship. He never told her that he had a Jeff because he wanted them to still have their weekly sessions. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I love him with all of my heart, but I am so disgusted with him and his mother. I haven't talked to him since he told me everything. After he told me, I ran out and drove to a town 2 hours away. I blocked him on every social media and his phone number. I changed the locks to my house. I've also called the weekend to work so he can't find me. What should I do? Make it work out or break up with him. Update. Thank you everyone for your advice and kind words. I have decided that I am going to talk to his dad and him both. I'll talk to his father first, then him. That way his father can help me figure out what course of action we may need to take. I messaged both of them an hour ago. His father agreed to meet this afternoon. I unblocked Buff and I'm still waiting on a reply from him. I will update later after I talk to them both and decide what we should do. TLDR. After a year of dating a man, I found out that him and his mother have had sexual relations since he was 13 years old. Update. I have no idea where to start with the events that have occurred within the past 11 hours since I last posted. I am still shaken up, and this is hard to process. My BF finally messaged me back a few hours after I asked him to meet up with me. He agreed to meet me at his apartment. I made sure that I was going to talk to his dad before him so he could help me find the correct course of action for my BF. Well, I have the father, we will call him X. I was so scared before talking to X that I was shaking. My voice was unsteady, and I had tears in my eyes when I walked in. I had no idea where to begin. X looked concerned, so he sat us down across from each other. I told X that I believe his son has been sexually abused for 6 years now. Of course, X was taken aback. I started to tell him about what Mike told me. That's when X started to be more and more puzzled. He stopped me while telling the story I knew about Mike and his mother. X told me that there's no way this is completely true. When he says this, I start getting confused as well. X tells me that Mike's mother died in a car accident when he was 8. X never remarried or had a GF. At this point, I am dumbfounded and I have no idea what to say. X tells me that he didn't think my BF's mother was sexually abusive while she was alive, or why my BF would even tell me this. X also tells me that he have no idea who Mom might be on his phone. I take a few minutes to calm down and think before I head over to my BF's apartment. The drive was only 10-ish minutes from X's house to my BF's. I took this time to process what X told me and what I would say to my BF. When I got to the apartment, I promptly went inside. I demanded answers immediately. I asked the truth about his mother, the messages I saw, and if they'd really been having sex since he was 13. Of course, he apologized again and gave me the same story, but it made me angry. This is where I lost my cool. I yelled and told him that X told me that his biological mother had been dead for almost 11 years. I told him I knew there was no way the story he told me was true because his mother passed when he was 8 years old. But became silent and looked down. At this point, I was crying uncontrollably. I felt so bad for what happened, and I wanted to get in therapy. I was willing to forgive him for keeping the secret from me. Mike was silent for a few minutes, then finally spoke to me. He told me he made the whole story up. The contact he had as Mom was an ex-girlfriend he regularly hooked up with. She was 20 and a bartender in our city. He put her name as Mom so I wouldn't get suspicious that he was talking to another woman so often. He didn't think I would find out, so he fabricated the whole story up. This way, I wouldn't be mad at him. He told me he figured I would feel sorry for him and stay with him. I felt so betrayed when he confessed this. In past few days, I went from having a healthy relationship to thinking my BF had been sexually abused by his mother, then to find out it was all a lie just because he didn't want me to know he was sleeping with this ex. He tried to justify it further, telling me it was meaningless and he only loved me. I told my BF that I want nothing to do with him and left. He tried to follow and plead with me, but I ignored him. I drove home, threw out everything he gave me, and blocked him. Once again, I cannot believe he lied about something so major just to protect himself. I haven't stopped crying since I left his apartment. I'm so hurt, and now I don't know what to do. I no longer want him in my life. I'm considering moving towns so he can't find me. He has gotten online and used a fake number to try and get a hold of me to apologize. I need to clear my head and try to take everything in. I will turn off my phone and computer for a while so he can't try to contact me again. Update. So, by now ex-BF came to my apartment and started banging on the door, begging to be let in so we could talk. At this point, I have turned all the lights off. I am being quiet so he will hopefully leave. I know he can see my car out front, so it's obvious that I am here still. I want to call the cops, but I am not sure there's much they can do. I'm thinking about going back to live with my parents until this blows over with him. I'm also considering talking to his ex that he was hooking up with. I got her full name and where she works. I will keep updates as I learn more about my ex-BF. Update. I am having a lot of people send me messages, so thank you for the kind words. I can't reply to everyone's messages, so at the bottom of the comments I added some additional commentary on everyone's suspicions. Please read it to answer any questions if you're still unsure. Please note that there are some personal details I left out in order to keep privacy. X. How his mother died. There's a reason he didn't talk about it. The comment transcribed. So I have been noticing a lot of similar comments, so many that I can't reply individually to each one of them. I'll just clarify some common questions I keep seeing. This account was made to get this off my chest, and be a throwaway, so here this goes. 1. The nudes. Yes, it seems out there that I couldn't tell. Here is why it was difficult. Because they were all close-ups of the genitals. Looking back, if I would paid more attention, yes, I could have known, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. I was scared. 2. The phone. It was dark, and I picked one off the nightstand and opened it. No, he didn't have a passcode. Yes, I did realize it was his, but kept reading. I was just alarmed from the few messages I read on his locked screen, so I decided to keep reading. 3. Dead mother. I asked Donna's mother many times, but no one ever gave me a frank answer. They were always vague, like they didn't want to talk about her. We had only been dating for a few months, and I don't feel like I should press about something someone doesn't want to discuss. 4. The EX. I cannot post much at this point on here because I decided to take legal action. I got into contact with his ex, and I can say this isn't the first time he has done something sociopathic like this. He has made some illegal moves in her, and I decided to take this a step further. 5. My job? No, I no longer work at the food court. I have a better paying job at the moment. I do have an apartment that my parents helped pay for, and they gave me a car to drive until I can support myself. My parents are super supportive and caring, they always have been. They're the only reason I am able to have what I have. Edit. I ended up talking to his ex. We had a long conversation, and I learned some other information. She told me she had no idea what I was talking about when I said what he told me. She claims she hasn't talked to him in months because of a restraining order she has against him. He harassed her when she broke up with him back in 2017. She also almost had a child with him, but decided to abort it when they broke up. I cannot disclose why they broke it off. I am considering a restraining order as well. Since the ex says she's not who he was cheating on me with, I have no idea who it is. I could care less at this point. I can't tell much else since I want legal action. I have told what I can to the best of my ability. Do not forget to subscribe and leave comments. Videos are released every day.